As an admin, you can manage review cycles behind the scenes in Perform. Just click the gear icon in the left sidebar, then Perform Preferences and Reviews. You'll see a list of existing reviews or the option to create a new one with a template or from scratch. Let's take a look at creating a review with the basic template. Start by giving your review a name. It's helpful to include the time frame of your review cycle here for easy reference later. Next, take a look at the review requirements. By default, the basic template includes 3 actions: employee self-evaluation, manager review, and finish review. You can choose whether or not to include the self-eval and the manager reviews, but the finishing step is always required. That's where managers finalize their team's reviews and share review reports. Then, decide if the review will include an evaluation of individual and department goals. They're included on the basic template by default. For each goal type, you can select status and timeframes for the goals to include. In the next step, you can customize the questions included in the template. If you opted to include goals in the review, they'll show up at the top of the list, followed by a list of fairly standard questions. To customize the questions, hover over the right-hand side and click the Edit icon. You can change the question text, response type, and commenting options. These hover options also let you change the order of the questions, make a copy, or delete a question altogether. Copying or cloning an existing question is a great way to save time adding questions that will use the same response options, like a rating scale or drop-down. If you want to use the same response type and choices, just find a question that's all set up, clone it, and change the question text. But if you want to create a whole new question from scratch, click Add Question at the bottom of the list. Enter a category, questions, and details, then select an answer type. You can choose from a rating scale, drop-down list, 9-box, and free text response. Under that is the option to allow or require the reviewer to add comments, then the settings for the answer type, like the scale orientation and labels for a rating scale, a list of choices for a drop-down, labels for a 9-box, and a character limit for a free response. When you're finished with questions, move on to the next step, choosing participants. These are the employees who will be reviewed. The template includes all employees by default, but to get a little more specific, click the Edit button near the top of the screen. Choose Custom from the drop-down, and use the drop-downs to filter for the right group of employees. For example, to use a single department, choose Department from the first drop-down, Include in the second, and the name of the department in the last. Or to include specific employees, choose Employees, Include, and the employees' names. You can add as many filters as you need and specify and/or logic for each row. Then set a hired before date and apply your changes. Click Preview to see what your review will look like in real life. The preview will open in a new browser tab. At the top of the screen, choose a role to see the review from that person's perspective. Just switch back to the Review Settings tab to make any changes to the questions or to finish up. You can click on the step headings at the top of the screen to move back and forth between sections. If you're not quite ready to launch your review, it'll auto-save as a draft you can come back to later. But if you're ready to get the review out to the team, click Launch Review. You can choose whether or not to send a kickoff email to let participants know the review is open. If you don't want to send an announcement just yet, you can skip right to managing the review to see how the results and progress will look. But if you are ready to announce the review to employees, click Compose Email. Choose whether to send the message to all participants or just specific employees, then write your custom message. Click Preview to take a look at the email everyone will get, and when you're ready, click Send. All review participants will be able to access and complete the review from the Reviews link in their left sidebar. To create a review from scratch, start at your review settings and click Create New. Choose No Template, and the rest is up to you. Start with the basics of naming the review and choosing whether to include goals, then move on to creating questions and choosing participants. The process for this is the same as when we customized a template earlier. Once you've created a review, you can easily use it as a starting point for other reviews. Just open Review Settings, look for it on the list of reviews, and open the More menu. Choose Clone, then update the title and tweak the settings and questions however you need. Cloning is a great way to save a few steps when you need to create review cycles for a new year or multiple versions for departments or teams. You'll find all the reviews you've created on the list in your review settings. You'll see the name of the review, when it was launched, who created it, the number of participants, and status. To work with a review, hover over it and look for the More menu on the right. Your options here may vary depending on the status of the review. For reviews in draft status, you'll have the option to edit, clone, or delete the review. When you're ready to activate a review, just click the Edit option and advance to Step 4, where you can launch the review and send a kickoff email. For reviews in active status, you'll also have the option to manage the review. This is where you can check the progress of a review cycle as a whole and by employee. You can also switch between review cycles at the top of the screen. You can also send emails to nudge employees and managers to complete their reviews and deliver final review reports to employees. From the More menu in the upper right corner, you can send or resend a kickoff email, edit or close the review, and download a PDF of the final review reports. It's important to note a few things. If you edit a review that's already been launched, the participants will not be notified of the changes. And once you've closed your review cycle, you can't reopen it. You can clone it and launch a variation of the review if you need to collect more of the same evaluations. Finally, if you delete a review, all the data associated with it will be deleted. None of the responses or feedback that were collected will be available to participants or to their managers. When a review has been launched, the participants will see it on their review list. Click here on the left sidebar. You'll see due dates for each phase of the review at the top of the screen and can switch between review cycles if needed. The tabs here below will depend on the requirements of the review. With the basic template, employees will see the Me tab, and if they're a manager, the My Team tab. The Me tab is for the employee's own self-evaluation, and the My Team tab is for managers reviewing their direct reports. If you're running 360 reviews or have included peer or upward reviews in a custom review, employees will also see a list of peer and upward reviewers on their Me tab. If the employee is required to give peer or upward reviews, they'll see the My Peers and My Managers tab, where they can complete reviews of their colleagues or managers. To complete a review, participants can click the review button and enter their responses. They can save their work as a draft if they need to come back to it later, then submit it when ready. For managers, they'll have the added step of finishing the review, which lets them review their assessments and deliver a final report to each employee, ideally after they've met to discuss their feedback. Want to see more? Check out the Perform Help Center.